Sorry, Meghan Markle and fan. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has done it first. We're talking about fashion, of course, and today's fashion edition is a very special episode. So you know how recently Meghan Markle has been trying to sort of plant the idea that she is somebody who people associate with fashion and that she wants to get into fashion and that that's the next thing that she's going to do and claims that she needs to. People are asking for her to get into fashion, which we all know. I disagree strongly. People associate Meghan Markle with fashion mistakes, fashion fails, faux pas, tragedies like these. This is not a woman who can wear clothing particularly well. You know what I mean? At least not this clothing. Or this. Or that. Or these. GMPs. Okay, this was the term, the code word for giant man pants. Pants that are so big it looks like you stole them from your dad. The Meg is no fashion icon, but she suddenly wants to be one. Within this last year, she has decided that this is where she is going to take her trajectory, is going to go into fashion next. Because I guess she's burned all the other bridges or something, I'm not sure. But this is exactly why I'm so glad to share today's news with you. But before that, I would like to invite you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Click like, hype, and share this video, but only if you want to. Also, leave me a comment down below. So thank goodness the real timeless fashion icon of our time has skillfully initiated her very own fashion revolution within the last few months. Very quietly, though, very much behind the scenes, with no fanfare or proclamations, no telling people that she is associated with fashion and that people would assume that she should do it. No, Catherine has done none of that. The Princess of Wales instead has just quietly made some very big moves behind the scenes within the fashion industry and within her own styling. Just last month, actually less than a month ago, at the end of January, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince William arrived in Scotland for a series of engagements. And she was wearing a brand new blue tartan coat that we hadn't seen her wearing recently. And of course, everybody assumed it might be like an Alexander McQueen or something like that, because it looks fabulous and she is known for her wonderful coat game. But it was later confirmed that Catherine herself collaborated on the design of the coat with Chris Kerr, and it was created with a special tartan that she worked with heritage brand Johnstons of Elgin to create. So the actual textile that was used to make this coat, Catherine helped design and helped to make, which is really, really cool for so many reasons on so many levels. It was also an interesting announcement coming from Kensington Palace because last year someone at the palace had repeated a quote from the year prior that Catherine really wanted her work to be the focus of press coverage rather than the fashion, and that they were going to minimize how much information they released about what she was wearing during engagements in order to allow the work to be a greater focus of the reporting on her engagements. And this was something that was quoted by her team initially, like at least 2 or 3 years ago from now. But last year, someone within the team had repeated that to someone and it ran through the press again as if it was a new, fresh quote. And some of the publications erroneously picked up on it as if it was something Catherine had declared, which she had not. It was just someone on her team who understood that they were trying to encourage more focus on the work itself or, whatever charity she's visiting, for example, for that to be the focus of the press release. So that could look as simple as putting all the important information about the event, the people she was there to meet, the organizations involved, the initiatives involved, research that went into all of it first, and then having a very small line at the very bottom acknowledging what she wore. Catherine has always been very smart about highlighting British brands and local designers, and so she's not one to not want any degree of credit given or mention of who she's wearing, like what designer she's wearing or where she bought her clothing or her accessories or anything like that. That's not the case. That's not what they meant. I think they just wanted to, as a team, ensure that the press releases and the communication with the press was more heavily focused on the work, which makes sense. That makes up a much greater percentage of the effort and the time and the event itself than what she wore, even though she does clearly understands and values her role within the fashion industry. Remember, Catherine also is an art major, so she is very interested in art, which includes fashion, and it's obvious from her excellent taste in the garments that she wears. Granted, she has had a stylist in the past, and a lot of people in the comments always say, well, she has a whole team of people who help her figure out what she's going to wear. Well, Catherine is notoriously simplistic with these types of things. Reports from the team has always kind of been consistent that Catherine does a lot of her wardrobe decisions and her styling decisions herself, or works with just the one stylist for the most part. Of course, there's, more people who help, tailors and things of that nature. But she's always been known to, for example, prefer to do her own makeup, or to, do a lot more of these things herself, choose what she's going to wear a little bit more independently. That doesn't mean she doesn't have suggestions or a series of options or things presented to her or ideas collaborated on, but she's not passive in it. And sometimes people get the impression that she's rather passive in it, and that is not the case, according to all reliable sources. But anyway, the point is, last year that comment kind of spun out of control, but it was really a very old comment that we had heard many times before in the past. And this year, the reason why Kensington Palace has commented on it is in part because Catherine has been putting a special focus on spotlighting the British textile industry in the past year, which is really special and interesting and unique. And by designing her own coat and the textile used to create it, she has made a profound statement. And it's a big show of support and a celebration of the industry as a whole, which I really like about this, that it's a lot more holistic view of the fashion industry to include the textiles, which we'll get back to in just a moment. But this coat design feels like a culmination of a year in which Catherine has sought to carve out her own way of engaging with fashion in an approach where she can use her clout to be supportive in a more profound and more meaningful way and have a bigger impact within the fashion industry and the way that she leads the fashion industry forward with her influence. When the Prince and Princess of Wales visited Radical Weavers, a hand-weaving studio and independent charity in Stirling, Scotland, during their visit last month, she not only showed her support with a traditionally made coat, but she tried her hand at making fabric at the organization too, which uses Scottish tartan weaving skills to help people tackle social isolation and trauma, which sounds fabulous. It sounds like a lot of fun. And as we know, Catherine's trusted stylist and assistant, Natasha Archer, left the royal household last year. It's now understood that she will not be replaced. Catherine is taking on all her own styling now, which is very refreshing, and I think it's going to be wonderful. I think she's going to have a seamless transition into this, and I think she's going to have a great track record because, as I said, she really understands art. She's been working with and paying attention to this stylist's advice for years now, and so she has a really good, solid foundation to build upon to take this on herself. And it's also a really modern way to shape her image as well, that she doesn't require a stylist for every single thing. Now, she might still rely on a stylist from time to time for particularly big events, for example, where maybe she needs to have multiple looks ready. But it seems like, as of right now, she's going to be going solo, which I'm really excited for. I think she's going to do a really good job. Not everybody has the knack for it. And Catherine has a lot of advantages, as we've talked about before, in that clothes are easy for her to wear because she has a tall, long body type with a well-defined waist. That's always going to make things easier. But I'm very excited for this. But this coat that she designed herself, well, she collaborated with to design herself, was great. It was a fabulous design, and the tartan is beautiful. I really like it. And with this one coat, she has highlighted not only the broader British fashion industry, as she always does, wearing British designers, but the textile industry specifically, which can oftentimes be overlooked because it's erroneously viewed by some as just an ingredient to the final product. But I would argue textiles are just as important as the final product because every year, every season, or what have you, there is a huge swath of textiles produced. And all the different clothing manufacturers bid on and purchase from and make deals to get these textiles. And that's why a lot of times, even across different stores and different manufacturers and different places, you'll see a lot of similar types of fabrics, a lot of similar types of textures and colors and styles of fabrics that are consistent across many different designers or many different clothing manufacturers. Like if you walk through the mall, you will see a lot of consistency from store to store to store because they all have access to the same batch of textiles. The amount of companies that produce and manufacture textiles is so small compared to the huge amount of clothing distributors there are. So the textiles themselves, the ingredients to make the clothing that we all find in stores and buy, are really important. And oftentimes there's a ton of overlap and a lot of similarity across the textiles that are available each season. And so something that's more custom made, the way this is much more special. It's hand woven. It's timeless. The quality, of course, is going to be better. It's going to be better representative of the culture from where it was made. The artistry is invaluable. It's just so much cooler and it goes past trends. It's that timeless option rather than something that's just what was available for the textiles this season. It's going to be completely different next season. You'll see completely different tones and things like that, but you'll be able to notice if you look, you'll see across different stores similar color schemes and similar styles of fabric weight and texture. It's all because it all comes from just a few huge textile mills for these mass-produced clothing lines. And the whole thing is a big source of waste and pollution as well. So I really love everything that this stands for. It stands for more sustainability, more appreciation of artistry and culture, and a skill of doing something real with your hands. It's timeless, not trendy. It's higher quality. It's custom. It's special. And also on the news of her taking on styling for herself, it makes so much sense and I'm very excited to see what else she does. And I also think it sets a wonderful example. Even just this coat itself, having something that's a little bit more custom, or uses a locally produced textile or comes from perhaps a local like small business rather than a big manufacturer, is a movement that we've seen begin to gain speed and gain momentum, and we need to encourage it to continue, of consumers of fashion buying fewer, higher quality pieces that are going to last much longer because it's much more sustainable, but also the garments themselves, when you buy a garment that might be a little bit more expensive, but it's made a little bit better with textiles that are going to hold up longer, then it's not just more sustainable, it's also oftentimes a better piece. Like the garment itself is more beautiful. It lays better. It looks nicer. The quality comes through in those situations. So I love this and everything about this story, and I'm so glad that Catherine has done this. And on top of it all, the timing couldn't have been more perfect to have this occur and this news break just as Meghan has been behind the scenes, allegedly gearing up to try to claw her way in to a more fashion-forward image. And I don't think it's going to be successful, but that's what Meghan's aspirations are at the moment, according to sources. And Meghan herself, her current aspirations are to dive into fashion next. Help us all. But at least we have Catherine in the meantime to cleanse the palate. Over on the second channel, I have a fashion edition featuring all the wonderful outfits from Catherine, Princess of Wales from last year. So be sure to go take a look. That video is a lot of fun and it should be live now or coming up today. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss it. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a happy day ahead and I'll see you next time. Bye.